Good morning this morning. This is Beauty, Business, and Banking, and I am Rochelle Hunter Mosley, and I have my really, really good friend, Topeka Sam. I mean, y'all know I have some very, very amazing friends, but this girl and what she does melts my heart every time. So I don't want to mess up people's titles and what they do, so I'm going to have Topeka Sam introduce herself. Topeka! You're on the
Thank you so
couch!
I know, girl. Finally, I was waiting. When is my turn? Damn. But thank you so much. So honored to be here and so proud of you for doing this. So my name is Dr. Topeka
Oh,
K.
I'm
Sam.
sorry. I'm sorry. I had my other doctor on yesterday. I got two friends that's doctors.
Dr. Topeka K. Sam. I am a great friend. I am a sister, a daughter, an auntie, an aunt for some of my nieces and nephews, a godmother, a social entrepreneur, a nonprofit leader, and a woman who believes in ending poverty and incarceration of women and girls globally.
I love that. You
Thank
know
you.
what? That was so different because I have learned over the years that when someone asks you who you are, they're asking who you are and not what you do. And I like that you started with who
Thank
you
you.
are and not what you do. I love that.
I
I
appreciate
really, really
that.
like that.
Thank you.
This gonna be good. This gonna be good. So I want to start with an icebreaker question.
Okay.
Okay. So
Uh-oh.
if you was a hammer or a nail, which one? Which one
Which
did
one
you?
would I be, a hammer or a
Would you be
nail?
a hammer or a nail?
I would be a hammer.
You'd be a hammer. Wow.
Because I believe in finishing things. And so, while I do plant seeds and I look at the nail as like a seed being planted, I appreciate like completion. And I believe like a nail will, it gets us to the finish line. It gets us to, the end of whatever that is. And so I would think I'm a hammer.
You think a hammer? I think I'm a nail.
Okay.
I think I'm a nail because I hang around for a long time. And I just feel like I'm now at that point in my life where I'm ready to hang a new picture.
Okay. And that's why I think we're great friends though, because, hammers and nails go together, right? Two nails can't necessarily hang together.
No, they can't.
And two hammers can't necessarily be together.
Absolutely not.
So it's great,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that icebreaker question. I didn't know what to expect.
I know. No, I got you. I'm your friend.
Yes.
I got you. So if I was looking through the dictionary, right, under what word would I see your name?
Grace.
Grace.
Yes, grace. I believe I afford people lots of grace. And I believe I am grace. So, yeah, today now.
Right.
I talk about yesterday.
I believe that
today.
you are grace, like with all that you've been through, right? And it's no secret that you were incarcerated. And I've told you before how I felt about you being incarcerated, not telling me.
You did.
And but I do want you to explain or talk about that experience being there. Like like being there, did you feel like it was a learning experience, or did you feel like it was just everything piled up against you?
I often say that, prison isn't what changed me. It was the women that I met that did. And so the experience of being around people that typically was not people that I was around in my everyday life is what changed me. It allowed me to understand that there's no like big eyes and little eyes, it's really a we, and that it doesn't matter what experiences that anyone has been through. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic background. It doesn't matter your level of education. It doesn't matter the cards that you were dealt with, whether it was a good hand or a bad hand, that any choice that we make can land us all in the same place. And for me, that's what the greatest learning experience was, that I was no better because I had a level of arrogance at a time in my life. While, externally, I didn't really show it, but internally I did, right? And so, and I understand that because the choices that I made impacted people that I didn't even know, which is why today the choices that I make impact people that I don't even know. But those choices, are healthier choices for me in my life right now. And the choices that I've made before, I don't apologize for. And I say that because every choice that we've made in our life has brought us to a particular place. For me today, every road that we chart, I believe, is a road that God has already pathed for us. And so, irrespective of when I went down a particular road, I was going to travel that road anyway. And so, I'm grateful for all of the learning experiences. I'm grateful for all the people that I've met. I'm grateful for all of the pain, but also, the joy that I've experienced. And now in my life, it's about embodying more joy.
Right, right. So talking about like the road, the path that you chose. Like I know that you came from a two parent home. I know that you're a scholar. I know that you play an instrument. You speak another language. All these things, right?
Well, not the other language,
Well,
but I mean, some would say.
well, we speak. Well, we all speak another language.
I would say I do. But
But when you look at all those things, and we are looking at our kids today, and we feel like we're giving them all the things, right? What type of mindset did you have, or what was that turning factor for you to go this way other than that way?
so there were, I would say it was two part. One, I was incredibly ambitious and driven. And I wanted what I wanted. And if my eyes were set on something, I was going to do it. No one could tell me different.
Right.
So that was one. The other thing was I did not know, I didn't connect with who I was as a Black woman, Black girl at the time. And so, being raised around all white people, while I knew I was Black, obviously, and my friends were my friends, I still felt disconnected, with my people, my culture. And so I was trying to find, like, what was that connectedness about? And really, ultimately what you learn, it's about you, right? Because where I was aspiring to be accepted in a way that was harmful, I realize now friends of mine were aspiring to be and have the experiences that I had, that I took for granted, right? Because it was my experience. I didn't realize that there were people who didn't have those experiences. I thought everybody played piano, went to Harlem School of the Arts. I thought everybody, had the ability to run around in their yard and have a pool in their backyard. I did not know that there was other people lived another way. Even when we came into the city on the weekends,
Right.
I didn't know. I didn't see it. It wasn't, and if I did, I didn't pay attention to it because it wasn't relevant to my life, And once I got out in the world and started seeing things, it became attractive to me because it was different. And I've always been a very inquisitive person. And so because of that, I wanted to learn more and know more. And then I never wanted to look like I didn't know something. So I knew everything. So, people thought, when they were like, "Where you from?" I was like, "Oh, I'm from Harlem." Now, mind you, I went to Harlem on the weekends.
Exactly.
But I was in the grass is green out there in Manorville. And while being, trying to fit in and trying to be accepted, a lot of that was really that. And I know that. And, today I realized the same things that I was trying, even through my journey now, I was trying again. When you have a similar lived experience as other people, and like incarceration, I'll use that as the example. While you've been through that experience, it doesn't mean that you're the same.
Right.
And the same things I faced trying to fit in then were the same things that I had faced trying to fit into a community around people that experienced the same thing. And I quickly realized, no, you got to be you. You got to be you, do you, for you, period. And, there are times even when I have not went to the light, like I kind of stayed in the shadows because of what people would think or what people would say. Again, understanding that little Topeka wanting to be accepted. And, it got to the point where, what? People are going to be people. And a sister I was incarcerated with, Missy Trigg, I shared this story recently that we were, I got to the federal prison and I was nervous because, I'm like, oh my God, I've never been in a big prison and all these things. And I met her and she was working out in a little area. And we were talking and she was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm nervous. And she was like, girl, you'll find your kind. And I was like, she's like, look, if you want to be in the church, you'll find your kind. If you want to have a girlfriend, you'll find your kind. Whatever it is that you want to do, you'll find your kind. So you're fine. Don't worry about it. And that every time I kind of go back to feeling, because, no matter how healed we feel, healing is a daily journey,
Yes.
And will be for the rest of our lives. I always go back to Topeka, you will find your kind. So when you are feeling, not connected, or you're feeling that you're not being accepted, or you're feeling that you might be too much for something or for someone, you realize you're going to find your kind. And always, when I come back to that, Monica, I always do. And it's my comfortable place of just being able to be me, because when we mute ourselves, it's uncomfortable for us. So why are we making ourselves uncomfortable and make somebody else comfortable?
Exactly. I mean, just us talking about, your experience, and we talk about I hear you talking about your experience a lot. How is therapy playing a role in your life right now?
Well, right now it's not. It has, it spurts,
Right.
And I believe, like, when I first came home, I went to therapy every week for a year straight. And that was my foundation, because without it, I would have likely been lost. And I say that because I had experienced traumas while incarcerated that I didn't even realize I experienced, right? Because we're just surviving. And you're trying to go, day by day, and, keep your mind as clear and strong as you possibly can. But you realize when you get back into the world, things are moving very fast, and you have to try to stay caught up. And so it has it. There's been times where I've gone through different types of therapy, spiritual therapy. I've gone, always pray. I would say praying and meditating is my therapy. I do that every single day. I have friends that I pray with, and I know people pray for me. Do I want to go back to therapy? Yes. I said that I was going to be intentional in this next phase of my life. I made 9 years home a few weeks ago. And so I said, thank you. And so going into 10 years, 2 years to 50, I'm like, I need to be more intentional about me, my health, my wellness, and my mind and spirit, right? And it's all of it embodying. And so I actually have been looking now for like a new therapist of where I am in my life now. Because every time I go to therapy, people are like, oh, well, you know what you need to do, basically.
Right.
It's never like, here's a script. You know what I mean? I remember one time when I was going to therapy, the therapist told me, you have great insurance and you can keep coming if you want to, but you have all the answers. And I realized then I just needed to talk to someone who would listen and not give me feedback. Like, I didn't want your opinion. I just needed you to listen, But I do need now, I think, at this next phase, because I'm evolving. And as I evolve, I'm becoming more uncomfortable, because even people around me, I don't want around me anymore.
Right.
Conversations that I may have, I don't want to have anymore. I don't want to talk about people in a negative way, or even laugh at that kind of shit. It's not healthy, right? And it's not productive. And I just want to be around people and things that we want to pour into each other. Right. That it's not always me pouring in and then I have an empty cup.
Right. One thing that I really like about when I share things with you, and you are a great listener, by the way, but when I share things with you, you always ask me, what did you tell her about it? Did you tell her the way you telling it to me? Don't hold that shit in. You always say that to me, and sometimes I feel like I'm just so fearful of losing these relationships, and I'm just just piggybacking off of what you said, that people that you're around, you don't want to be around no more. The conversations you don't want to have no more. And I feel like I'm starting to feel the same way.
Yeah.
But it's the fear of letting go of these relationships that I've had for so long.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh God, I don't want to say it. I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? And it's not that I'm afraid of the people. It's just that I'm just so comfortable in these relationships. It's kind of like the dog on the nail.
Yeah.
It's like how long you gonna let it hurt? That's how I feel.
No,
and
a lot of them. It's real, right? We are so conditioned and accustomed to doing things a certain way.
Yeah.
whether it's our work, our career, how we do our hair, how we dress,
Right.
all of these things we're so accustomed to. And a lot of times the only way we change is if there's something that is so either egregious that happens or something that, it's just like, oh, that was enough. Like I've taken enough,
Yes.
right? Instead of saying, like, we have to consistently reevaluate our relationships.
Right.
So one thing I learned in prison, I did this class. It was a cognitive behavioral therapy class. And it's about your thinking. But they talked about 5 benefits to a healthy relationship. And if I get them right, it was a sense of connectedness and belonging, positive feedback, which goes both ways, emotional support, which is, I can call my friend and, pour out my heart or cry and they can listen, and vice versa. Instrumental support is also, hey, I want you on my podcast. Come on, right?
Yeah.
And then it's also like your sense of connectedness and belonging. I might have said that first, I'm not sure. But how do we feel connected? And so if you don't have those 5 benefits of a healthy relationship, it's unhealthy. And it goes both ways, right? So it's not just me giving, it's also me receiving. Right. And our relationships, there's a casual relationship and intimate relationships. And we have to constantly reevaluate our relationships, because there are relationships that were once casual that may be intimate. And this is not gender specific, right? And then there's intimate relationships that may need to be casual.
Right.
Right. And when we don't evaluate that, because it's about how we feel, like everything triggers from our emotions. So if this relationship is no longer serving me, then what am I in the relationship for?
Right.
And we fear, to your point, a lot of times, again, what is that person going to say? How are they going to feel? Not that they've been making your life a miserable hell, and not that they have not been, really thoughtful and appreciative or even respecting the relationship that you have, because also respect is relative.
Relative, yeah.
When you don't consistently communicate about those things, that's what ends up happening, right? And so I have constantly reevaluated my relationships. Right. And here now, on this like journey to 10 and journey to 50 for me, it's like I'm no longer accepting mediocrity in my relationships, because I know I don't give mediocrity in my relationships. Right. And I also would like people to express me, because I am a very open kind of, if I don't like something, I'm going to tell you. If I think, something is going on, I'm going to ask you. I want it to be reciprocal. Right. I want people to tell me. Like some of my friends be like, all right, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? Why haven't I talked to you? They'll joke, I saw you more when you were in prison. I see you now, Right. And so I am mindful of that. And then, some of my friends, when we're together, they don't want me on the phone. It's just me and them, because their love language is quality time. Yeah. And so I know I have to be mindful when I'm with them, focus, And so it's really about, when we grow and evolve and when we want new things in our life, we have to align ourselves with people that want the same. And most importantly, that want it for us. Yes. And not just for them.
Exactly. I feel that really, really deeply in my heart, because when I'm interacting with people, especially like my mentees and people coming through my salon and people that I'm calling friends, I have a lot of casual people, like you said. But my intimate circle is small, believe it or not. It's smaller than most people think it is. But I need to tweak it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I need to tweak it a little bit more. And I like that, casual and intimate. And I can switch it up.
And you can, and it's all good.
Switch it up, and it's okay.
You have a right to switch it at any time. And the beauty of it all is you don't even owe a person an explanation for it, because at the end of the day, they know. If they truly take a look within, they know why, they may say you acting funny or you're being different, but I don't need to have a conversation with you to tell you that, no, I'm not calling you to tell you my business anymore, or no, I'm not hanging out with you anymore. Right. Or no, I don't need to say that, because if we are all evolving as individuals, then as you grow, your people around you should grow. Right. And if they don't, and they don't see that in you, then you gotta let it go, because it will weigh you down. And I'm a firm believer. People like, you gotta be around certain people because you can be positive and bring them. No, darkness dims light.
It does.
Light.
Period.
That's it.
Period.
Right. And so we gotta stop like thinking that we can save the world. And as I say this to myself, that you cannot do that. You have to save yourself. And also, while I'm on a plane every single week, most recently, I heard them say, put your oxygen mask on first. Literally. And when I tell you I'm on a plane every week, and usually during that little, conversation, I'm texting, emailing, trying to sneak a little phone or last minute. And at one point in my life, I thought I was going to be a flight attendant, so I know how to evacuate a plane. Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't need to hear all this, right? Right? So I just keep going. But literally, right after May 5th, I was on the plane and I heard it. And it just stopped me. And the last time I was on a plane coming back to New York, I was trying to hear it and I missed it. Right? So I knew I was supposed to hear it at that time. Put your oxygen mask on first. It doesn't matter if you've got a child traveling with you, you would have put your mask on first. And when I look back, as I was thinking about like even the last decade of my life, I've always been putting other people's mask on before it was me.
Me too.
And that's why I was like, no more. I got to put my mask on first, because really the more I breathe, the more I can help. The more I have, the more I can do. Right? It's no longer continuing to just give. I got to take care of me first. And I think, when you understand that even within your relationships, people who are takers will understand that it's their time to kind of fall back, because you need your time and your space.
And takers never stop taking.
No, they don't.
They never stop. It's no end to when it's going to be over. It's never going to be over.
No.
You have to say, okay, enough is enough.
You do.
And then before I even get there, I know for me, when I get to that point where when I say enough is enough, that means the straw done broke the camel's whole back.
Right.
I mean, because I have a very, very high tolerance for pain in every physically, mentally, socially, in every kind of way. I have a very, very high tolerance. I think higher than most people have. So when the straw breaks my back, it's done. Like I'm done. Your bags are at the door outside on River Road. I can't. He was like, "Oh, I come and get my stuff." No, you cannot. And it's just done. And that I feel like that's something I love about myself and I hate about myself at the same time. Because when the straw broke the camel's back, like I just cut it off right at the.
But don't hate it. You gotta love all of you, right?
But it's like I don't even give a warning. It's not.
You don't need to. But that's a beautiful thing. So I aspire to that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to give a person a warning.
And I said, "Oh, I'm not going to do this anymore." And it's just done.
And that's a beautiful thing, because you've made a conscious decision to say enough is enough, right? And though, in growth and evolution, you likely could have done that ahead of time, to where you didn't have to wait to do that. Because when we end relationships or end things, it doesn't have to be ugly or messy.
I know.
It's just like, this is it. I'm good, and we should be able to keep it moving and see each other and say hi and say, happy birthday, and do all the things, even if the relationship has changed, right? Because again, if we are true to ourselves, and it's not about telling everybody else, oh, damn, I did wrong, right? It's about talking to you and talking to God, right? Like at the end, when things shift, it's not one-sided. Typically, it's something that happened along the way that either both of you could have contributed to, right? So whether, you might be a terrible relationship, even if I decide to stay in that terrible relationship, I'm still contributing to the harm that's happening to me, because I have a right to walk away. Even if I'm leaving everything behind, I can still walk away. So if I'm choosing to stay through whatever it is, that is a choice that I am consciously making, whether brainwash, and there's some, clinical studies that show that there are things that people being their mind manipulated and things cannot change. But I'm a believer that, and I've heard stories, I've seen people, I know that I have walked out of situations that have been terrible, right? Because it was my enough. And again, it is the journey, right? So you could say, what if I would have? But that doesn't really matter, right? It's just the fact that you did. And when you did, what are you going to do next in order to have better relationships, better outcomes, or not even better, just outcomes that you would like in your life right now.
Right, right. I know my BFF sent me this post and this young lady was saying that that we get to change our mind, like you said, and there's nothing wrong with changing your mind. Yeah, I felt like that yesterday, but I just don't feel like that today, and it's okay, and you don't have to feel no way about it
At all.
No way.
And we do because of society. We do because of just like what we have been taught, right? This idea around loyalty. And you're so loyal to someone else and you're not loyal to yourself. Or this idea around love. And what does love look like? It looks different for everyone, right? And it's like, how are we defining things? We're often defining things based on other people, not based on our own definitions. And as we grow, we have to begin to define our lives the way that we want to define our lives, not the way somebody else is imposing their definition of what life and happiness and joy and wealth and success are, right? Success to someone else may be like, you know what? I just want to go ahead and live in the woods on another island with minimal stuff and just be at peace and be able to meditate and do yoga every day by the water. That's somebody's success and that's their light. And that's a beautiful thing for them. While I don't want to, that's not success for me.
Exactly.
The success for me is getting, a certain dollar amount, being able to live my life on a big yacht and a private jet. That's success for me, right? That's my shit. It don't mean that mine is better and yours is less, right? Or mine is less and yours is better. It just means those are my personal goals. And I don't want to be around people that'll tell me that I'm striving for too much or I'm doing too much. I'm not doing enough. I want people to keep pushing me and I want to be able to push my friends, right? I want people to support. I want it to be reciprocity, right? That was my word going to this new year. And if my relationships wasn't reciprocal, right, that I no longer wanted them. And that goes to family and everything else. And so you have to set boundaries, and you learn these things as you grow because often, when you grow up, you don't know what a boundary is. You don't, your parents tell you to do something, you do it. You can't say no. That's just what it is, right? And you go into these, you're in sports, your coach tells you got to do, it's like these things. And we don't realize until we have to make certain decisions as an adult on our own that we actually have these choices to say no or not now. Or, what, I don't think I want to do that anymore. You know what? I think I want to pivot. And I think while I love doing this, I want to do it better differently. How can I do that? And have these conversations with yourself. Because I know I used to laugh because my dad, so I was walk past the bathroom and see him talking to himself in the mirror. We thought, this man crazy. But I be doing that shit.
And you have to.
And I be literally having conversations with myself in the mirror. I do it. And I'm sure other people do. I can't be the only one. But it's like, I know that in order to do that, I'm also facing myself and it helps me because I also will come to a rational state even when I might start off cussing because I'm feeling some type of way about something.
You know what? Get out my head. Get out my head. Because you know what I'm saying in my head right now?
What?
You know what I say? What I tell myself in the mirror?
What?
This motherfucker got me fucked up. He got me fucked up. And I was saying that in my head as you said that I don't want to be cussing. I be cussing because that's what I was saying in my head.
I do it too though, girls. And I think we all do it.
Wait, hold on.
And anybody who act like they know they're fronting.
Yes.
Because I promise I used to when my dad was crazy. Now I do the same damn thing all the time. Have a whole conversation. I'm talk at them.
Yeah, I almost didn't hear nothing else you said after I be talking to myself and I be cussing because I was in my head like, this nigga got me fucked up. And I was like,
word.
Because see, I need cussing friends and praying friends.
No, for real.
For real. Because the way our lives go, I need both. I won't be able to survive with without one without the other.
No, it's true. And none of us are that way. I mean, I think, I don't know anybody that does not do both.
Right.
I've learned not to do both in certain places. And I don't allow everyone to see Topeka.
Right.
I just don't, and I don't believe everyone should.
Not qualified,
Not qualified. And so there are people who get, the poised Topeka, who just shows up a particular way because that is the space that I'm in.
Right.
And there are Topeka that get, this Topeka,
Right.
the one that you get,
Right.
right? The nigga shit Topeka, so that we could talk about that. There's that.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's not for everybody,
not for everybody.
because people don't often take that level of vulnerability and honesty lightly. They abuse it.
Right.
And again, we're learning and we're evolving and we know what we want. So I think, as we talk to ourselves in the mirror, and we do have those conversations, it's also, pouring things into ourselves every morning, writing positive affirmations on the mirror, saying, who you are and what you want, because I'm a firm also believer in manifestation. And that, we can have whatever it is that we want if we speak it. Right. We have not because we ask not. And I am a firm believer of that. And I'm a true testament to that. Because anything that I've asked God to do, I've been able to do. And exceedingly and abundantly. And I know now new things that I wanted to do or that I am doing are requiring new people around, new heights to go. And it's so interesting that that's also happening. I'm reconnecting with people that I may not have seen in 30 years. I'm meeting new people who are bringing me into new spaces that I was like, wow, I didn't know. And God is bringing so many people who are just wanting to help and pour into me without wanting anything.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful thing because sometimes you need people to see the light in you that often you don't even see in yourself. And that helps you get to that, next level and get out of that fear and out of your way. Because the reason why people have, typically outside of people who are actually born into wealth, and sometimes they can't keep it because they don't have it, right? It's because you have it. And many are called and few are chosen.
Right.
And when you are chosen, like we are, it's a journey to get to even understanding what that calling is and really being able to move in it despite the noise, because the noise will always try to disrupt where God has you going.
Well, talking about ask not, want not, and being chosen, how was the experience when you got your pardon from Trump?
Well, I laugh because I didn't apply.
You did not apply.
I did not apply. And so it was a shock to me because I was writing letters of support for other people and putting their name, trying to put clemencies in to try to get people out of prison, and other people wanted pardons. I was writing letters of support for them. And then I get a call saying I received a pardon. And I was completely shocked.
And I got goosebumps.
Yeah. And I was so grateful because what that said to me was two things. One, the work that I have done spoke for itself, that I have been recognized by my peers enough to speak up for me in order for this to happen.
Right.
The other thing was that, what God has for you, God has for you. And God will use anybody to make it happen. Right? Who would have thought that Trump would have, first of all, signed the First Step Act, which was the most, the bill that has released the most amount of people out of federal prison since the 94 crime bill was actually enacted. Who would have thought that? And, that for me was also God telling me, like, you're good. Because I had also for a long time struggled with like survivor's remorse. Feeling like I couldn't do but too much because, I didn't want to, make people feel a certain way, like those type of things.
You want to ruffle no feathers.
And God showed me, it was that happened. And then I got my honorary doctorate right after that. Like everything was happening like boom, 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 right? Like next year, it's like that. And when all of those things were happening, it was just like so beautiful because for me, God was saying, Topeka, I'm pleased. Like, so even if I decided like I wasn't going to do anything else in the work in the space that I did, I knew that God was pleased. And I often said through all of the things I had experienced here recently where I was having like these hardships, right? I never realized how difficult it would be to help people.
What?
So
it is extremely difficult.
Listen,
it is extremely difficult, and I'm gonna tell you why, Topeka, because a lot of people feel like they don't deserve it.
It's true.
They don't deserve it.
It's true.
Like I can't believe that, and they stay in that place of disbelief for too long, and they don't believe that you're there to sincerely do something to help them. Why you want to help me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? I don't deserve this.
It is so true. It's so true. So there is that. There's also why you. Like, I'm not going to do this because it's supporting you.
Yeah.
They're not realizing you're not supporting me. You're supporting God, because really God is using me to do this. And I had never experienced so much hate and harm and all the things, working in the space that I work in. And prison reform, criminal justice work, I did not. And it's like every time people would do terrible things to try to just not only like hurt me, but also the organization,
Right.
I would still navigate through it. And I would, keep going and keep going. And I recently said to myself, okay, Topeka, were you continuing to go because you wanted to go? Or was this something that God was trying to remove from, like, really be still? Because, when you're moving, and things are happening, you're trying to navigate through it. You don't have time to be still. And so
And
you
it also
can't really
sound
hear
like
God.
I see your dad showing up a lot too. I could see it's God, but it's your dad saying, "Girl, girl."
Now he be navigating. He's there.
That
You
I
know?
could feel that.
Yeah, he
I could
definitely
definitely
is
feel that.
there. And my grandma too. And I recently have just been like, okay, Topeka, like, and again, it's just 9 years hit. It's like, okay, like what else? There's so many things. Like, I'm an innovator. So there's like so many things that I want to do.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm going to do those things. And what that looks like. And I also realized that so often we're married to a thing. But when you have a calling, you're the vehicle. So it's not the thing that's actually the vehicle in order for you to do what you believe you're called to do.
Right.
It is you that's the vehicle. So what you do may look differently if you're aligned with your calling, as long as you're still moving in purpose. And so that's like where I have been here lately, because it was like this uncomfortable thing. But then as I come to that realization that, what I may be doing, maybe it's beginning to evolve and look differently, that I started to feel lighter.
Right.
I started to lose weight.
Right.
I started to pay more attention to my health. I started to feel better about myself. I started to walk into spaces with confidence in a way that I can see the way people see me now, because I can see them. I see how they look at me. Often when we're in this kind of fog, you don't even realize how you're showing up in spaces and where there are people who end up really being intimidated. But the way that I've been moving because of how I feel inside and what I know inside, people are being drawn to me, the right people. And so it's been completely different. Like, I'm going into these rooms, into these spaces, and these people that are coming into my space. It's been totally different.
Right.
And it's amazing, because it's always like, oh my God, how can I help? I want to help. This is what I want to do. This is what I can do. Oh my God, you are beautiful. Like all of these things. And it's just like, wow, like now I can see it and I feel it because I see it within myself. And a lot of times we don't do it and we don't admit it. We put on the mask every day.
Yeah, I remember when you invited me into a space with other incarcerated women, and you invited me, and you said, "Ro, I want you to come to this event. It's for impacted women." And I said, "Well, why are you inviting me? I ain't impacted." And because I'm thinking in my head, just me being ignorant, just not knowing. I didn't know that I was impacted. And I didn't know that that was the word to use. And it doesn't mean that you were in jail. It just, I want you to explain that.
Yeah,
Because I want people to really get it, because I didn't really get it.
No, yeah. So justice impacted means that, you could have lived in a prison. You have a loved one that lived in a prison. You work in a prison. You believe in this work. And so you've been arrested. You've been systems impacted. Any of these iterations, right, means that you're justice impacted. Right. And often it has been historically an us and them, right? Even when I had visited people who had been incarcerated and I hadn't been incarcerated, it wasn't me, it was them.
Right.
But often people who are home, like your family, your friends, they're incarcerated with you. They're the ones that are having to travel those hundreds of thousands, even miles to go visit. They're the ones that are working extra time to put money on your books. They're the ones that are taking care of your kids, and doing all the things that you cannot do in your absence.
Right.
And so that makes you impacted also.
Right.
And when we look at it as, a community issue, then more people want to pour in and want to help and support. And, then the stigma goes away because, I believe it's 10 million children that are impacted by parental incarceration in the country. 1 in 3 adults has an impacted loved one. So, I often say it's not just me that's coming in a room that has been impacted by this system. We all have. And if we start to look at it that way, then we can start to, slowly chip and dismantle the system because we understand that we no longer want that for each other in our community.
Right, right. And I know even being at that same event that you invited me to, a young lady started talking about what her reciprocity was, how much she had to pay for her.
Oh, her restitution.
Her restitution,
Yep.
not reciprocity, for her restitution. And I was listening to her, and I'm just like, I remember I had to sign a restitution thing for my ex-husband, and I was like, so I didn't even understand what it was. I know I didn't want to sign it. I didn't want to be responsible for it because they told me that if he didn't pay it, then I had to pay it. But if I didn't sign it, then I would go to jail. So I didn't understand why. Like I didn't do anything, right? But being that was your husband at the time, you were also responsible. So when we get ourselves in these situations, we got to understand everything we signing up for.
100%.
Because when you don't understand everything you signing up for, yes, you are responsible for your husband's restitution. If he does not pay, you have to pay, and if you don't sign, you're going to jail.
Right, and restitution is no joke. It's like
not a joke.
20 years.
This girl said she had millions of dollars.
Yeah, there's another
She can't
sister,
even buy a house.
Yeah, there's a sister, $500 million restitution, didn't receive a dime.
Wow.
And that means that they have, after they do their prison time, so they're incarcerated, they come home, and then they have to pay this restitution for 20 years. Yeah. And then and who's going to ever pay $500 million back, right?
Right.
So 20 years later, the government has a right to renew it again.
Wow.
So it's like you're always, so, we've started a campaign called Remission Now. And there's videos, people can go on the website and check it out to hear more of, this other hidden level of incarceration and what they call a life sentence. Because after serving my prison time, I'm coming home having to pay millions of dollars back that typically, in many cases, that I didn't even receive.
Right.
And I can't buy a house. I can't, some of them can't get cars. They can't take out new loans. It depends on the stipulations and the conditions of release. Some can't get certain jobs. A lot of you rent apartments, a lot of things, because it shows up also as a debt on
what
people's
about
credit.
Insurance? Because I know
some can't get insurance either.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot. So what we did was we filed 27 applications to the President of the United States to get clemency on remission for them, so the debt will be forgiven.
Right.
And they can go on, with their lives, and also introducing a bill next session on the federal level called the Fairness and Restitution Act.
Right.
These sisters are brilliant. One's a judge, lawyers, big real estate moguls at times in their lives, some in healthcare, brilliant women, unfortunately got caught up in some guilty, some not. But the egregious amount of restitution should not have happened at all, And, we wanted to bring light to this issue that so many people don't talk about. They talk about nonviolent drug offenses often, do not speak about violent cases, and do not speak about white collar cases for whatever these, the reasons are. And so, we're hopeful while, this is an election year and, Biden needs to do something, and we're hoping that something starts with these 27 sisters.
Yeah. Well, thank God my ex-husband was on the up and up, and he paid his own restitution. But I know it's a lot of wives out here that are dealing with their husband's restitution, and they stuck with the bill.
That's right.
And it's nothing that they can do about it.
That's right.
They just stuck with the bill. and it's really, really, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And just like I always ask you, like, how can I get involved? And I just think that, being a wife of an incarcerated man, I often felt like I didn't get the support that I felt like I needed
Yep.
at the time.
Yep.
Because I felt like, and you being on both sides of the spectrum, being in and being out, you understand.
Yep.
How I felt at the time, and how alone I felt. I felt like nobody understood. I felt like nobody is listening. I felt like, I had so many different feelings that I had about it. But I'm happy I'm on the other side of it. And when I say that I want to do something, like what can I do? That would be probably the platform I would want to take on. Talking to the wives,
Yeah.
girlfriends, and stuff like that of these incarcerated men, because they need support as well.
100%. It is part of the family, right? Because also, when your loved one comes home, that's a whole nother dynamic that you have to deal with, depending on how long they were incarcerated.
That's another show.
Right?
That's
And
a whole nother
the
show. We ain't even
trauma.
got time. We ain't even got time for this.
Yes, indeed. It is a lot, right? Someone who's been incarcerated a year, a decade. And
If you miss an iPhone update, if you missed the new iPhone, so think about these men that missed 3
or never had one,
experienced one.
Yes,
you are dealing with a whole different person.
Yes,
you're dealing with a different type of person.
And a man's personality, the different than women. We have just different personalities.
Different.
With a man, when he comes home, the expectations of himself and what he needs to provide for his family versus it is a lot.
And what he used to doing.
Yep. And when he
when
he wants to change his life, what that looks
all
like.
That, yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. And how are you able to support, but how are you also able to be supported? Because through that, it is a lot.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you, most of the time the support is not gonna come from him. Because he don't know how to support you.
Exactly.
He don't know all the things that you've been, what you've been doing with the kids, or how you make the groceries, and how you have the house cleaned, and how you do this. It's a lot.
Yeah. No, and
it's a lot.
And also they've been incarcerated where, you've had your meals prepared, your clothes washed, all these things
what time
done.
to get up, what time to go to bed, what time you going outside,
all of the things. And now you have to come home and try to figure that out. And then if you're in a relationship with someone, a lot of times you lean on that person to kind of figure those or do all those things. And that person also has a rhythm, a pattern of things that they do.
Exactly.
There becomes conflict. Then there's no communication. Unfortunately, a lot of men in our community don't believe in therapy.
Right.
So they don't want to go to therapy and have group therapy because they have the traumas that led them to prison, the traumas they experience while prison, because men's experiences are very different than women's, right? And then when they come home, those traumas, consistently having doors shut, the barriers that they have to face, and then trying to even communicate. I remember in the first relationship I was in post my incarceration, even trying to sleep in the bed with someone was difficult because I was so used to sleeping on this little slither of a bed by myself that when I was in the bed, I would always turn the opposite way, didn't necessarily want to be touched. It was just I was disconnected.
Right.
Even how I communicated with men for a long time. I wouldn't look them in the eyes. I couldn't really, my femininity was kind of, it was muted.
Muted, yeah.
Because I was so used to being shot up, wearing men's clothes, while incarcerated. While I did get things altered and I wore my lipstick every single day, it still was not the same, And so it's trying to get that back. And then, you have to think, if men have been around men every single day, 24 hours a day for decades.
Yes.
How are they going to be able to interact with a woman?
Right.
Where is that level of softness and sensitivity? Where can it will take a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and they don't just have it. They don't just, that's not one of those things that they just keep.
No.
Hidden under the pillow. It's not one of those things.
No, you got to shut it off.
That you have to constantly 100%. Use in order for it to work, just like everything else.
Right, because a man can't be feminine in a prison. Right? Around a bunch of men.
Well, he can, but you already know what time it is. You
that
already know
part.
what time that
Right,
is.
right.
But
Right,
yeah.
that part, and for women, we're not supposed to, touch or
Right.
hug or embrace, but we are maternal.
Right.
We do that anyway.
Anyway.
So it's like all these sensories that are
Yeah.
cut, and then to try to reactivate them back when now you're on sensor overload because it's so many things going on
Right.
when you're used to doing and seeing things. Just imagine, just lock yourself in the bathroom or in your bedroom one day. Just try that for an entire weekend. Don't leave. And see how that makes you feel. Mind you, keep the windows closed, shades closed, all of that. Don't have no light. Nothing. No TV either. See what that feels
What that
like.
feels like.
And not that it is an excuse for people, but it is a real thing. A third of our population has experienced this. And so when we talk about mental health, we talk about, emotional health, EQ, emotional intelligence, all of those things. We don't have it, right? And so to your point, you have to retrain that muscle. So
do you think with us not be, I mean, when I say us as a people, when we in and out of prison, and when we're coming out of prison, do you think that heightens our recidivism? Is that the word, recidivism?
recidivism,
Rate when they come out and they can't cope, and then they
100%, right? Like if I come out and let's think about an animal. Nobody keeps their animal in a cage for more than a certain period of time.
Right.
They let them out, right? Because if you keep that animal in that cage, how are they going to respond when they get out? Right. They're going to be angry,
jumping all around,
jumping all around,
things,
right? They're going to be wild,
Yeah.
right? You have a person who's incarcerated for a period of time. They come home. They want to do better. They want to do different. Doors are shut in their face. No, no, no. You might get a few yeses, and then your background check comes back. Nah, we can't have you.
Right.
I'm wanting to provide for myself and my family. I don't want to live in a shelter or on the street. I don't want to get back into an abusive relationship. I don't want to go into sex work because I'm tired of that lifestyle. What do you think a person is going to do? A lot of times those crimes become crimes of survival because some people I've heard it, I much rather be in prison than to be home. It's easier there.
It's easier there. I say that all the time. I say that about people all the time. Like, life is hard. So try living too. When people try to live your life and mine,
How about it?
Life is hard.
Right?
Life is hard. Life is
So
hard.
true.
So tell us what you got going on now, Topeka.
What I got going on. So obviously my everyday love of life is Ladies of Hope Ministries, my nonprofit. I'm also have a fintech company called MyFresh that focuses on financial education and banking, checking accounts for justice impacted people and families. I am a real estate developer now.
Okay.
So myself, Angela Yee, Jasmine of Jasmine Brand, and Jessica Sanchez have a 30-unit property in Detroit. And many of those units are going to be for formerly incarcerated women and women actively fleeing domestic violence. So we should be finished with the full rehab on that next month. Okay. Super excited about that.
I want to come to the opening.
Oh, yes, for sure, for sure. Let everyone know in Detroit. Many other, I'm also launching a show and a few other things, so stay tuned for that. More real estate investments, thinking about a few other businesses.
Okay.
Just now kind of tapping into my creativity, but also making money, because, nonprofit, while great, and while I've been able to be blessed with creating the life that I wanted, it's hard. You're running around begging. First of all, reliving my trauma every day, sharing my story is not the lick.
Right.
And having to do that in order to get money is like pimping, is what I feel like.
Right.
And I'm a person that always worked hard, knows about working hard, and not about begging or having my hand out. And charity is what it feels like. And I'm at a place in my life where I want to be so wealthy that I can write checks to people. Right. I can write checks for things that I care about, and to help people so that they can do the work that they know and that they feel called to do without all of the nonsense. You know, we have enough data that shows the things. What kind of outcomes do you really need? What you need is to see that people are being housed, you know? What you need to see that people have jobs. What you need to see is our economy is changing and thriving because our people are changing and thriving.
Right.
And working in nonprofit as a Black woman who's been previously incarcerated has been so hard. And, you know, I'm thinking about ways to generate my own wealth so that I can do my work better differently. So I'm excited about this journey because I'm like, you know, when I was a little girl, I was like, I'm retiring when I'm 50. And I'll be 50 in 2 years. And so that is still my goal, right? I still am going to retire when I'm 50. That is what I want to do. And so I am on that journey to do just that. But I'm also on that journey to just step in front of and stop stepping in the shadows. You know, God has, you know, pushed me so much to be like, no, you're not made to be in the back. You're made to be in the front. And so because of that, I'm now stepping into that. And it feels fucking good. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I love you.
So just a few things, like for someone that's coming out of prison, that's just having a hard time, and just to give them a little advice to just show them or to guide them, to let them know that it's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not a train. What would you tell them?
So
Look into that camera.
2 things I would say, probably maybe 3. But the first thing is be you, do you, for you. When you come home, if you have children, you've already been gone. That reunification process is going to take some time. You have to get yourself, put your oxygen mask on first before you try to put on someone else's. Get yourself right first. Be you in doing it. Don't show up as anyone else. Don't try to mimic anyone else. Continue to stay in prayer and ask God what your journey is. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is there's a movie that I really love, Finding Nemo. And Nemo always, and it says, keep on swimming, right? So it's keep on swimming, keep on swimming. So I would say keep on swimming. You are going to get hit down several times. People are going to say no. Doors are going to be shut in your face. It's all right, because that means that God has a different plan for you. There's a better opportunity down the horizon. There's something else greater for you to do. And don't be in fear, right? Stay of good courage. God is with you wherever you go. I feel like those are some foundational pieces that I know that when I was called to do whatever I needed to do, I had to give my shame and guilt to God and keep pushing, because once God forgives you, you're forgiven. It doesn't matter what anybody has to say, what they think, how they feel. God forgave you, so you need to forgive yourself. Once you've gone through that journey, you can do any single thing in the world. And lastly, this is a really important point, that God abides in each and every one of us. So God being the greatest, the omniscient, omnipotent, omni-everything, then if everything abides in you, then that means you're everything too. So you can do all things with God.
I love it. I love you, Tiffany.
Oh, I love you too. Ah, that was a good
That was good. This is in Beauty, Business, and Banking. Till next time.